Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our 348th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. So the way this call works is this is an AMA, like you see on Reddit. You can ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, investing questions, career questions, any questions you have. And my humble goal is to help take your happiness, your portfolio, your career, your startup, etc., to the next level. Without further ado, let's begin, and thank you. Okay, great. So first question I've got here is, any thoughts on IOT and BRO? Any irrelevance in the future? Yeah, so IOT, that is Samsara, and then BRO is Brown and Brown. Very different companies. So IOT, and I'm going to show you all in a second how to do investment research on any company so that you can come up with your own investment analysis, target price, etc. So Samsara is more of a growth company. It basically is an industrial Internet of Things device company. It's not profitable right now. They just reached their first quarter of profitability in Q3, which they reported in December. In terms of investing in the company, what you have to do is this, and I'm going to go to sec.gov and show you how to do investor research on this company as well as Brown. What you have to do is this. You're going to have to forecast your financial statements. Now, when you forecast financial statements, it's much easier than you think. Okay, so what you do is this. You always start with revenue, okay? And that's an income statement I just showed you. You start with revenue, which is also called sales. And you're going to forecast this over many, many years. Let's say 5 or 10 years, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to forecast, for the most part, these red items, okay, which are expenses. And then you're going to get down here to net income. And when you invest in a growth company like ticker IOT, the only reason you're investing is because you think that earnings in the future are going to be massive, right? Because right now the company is expensive, it's not profitable. It actually has like a $16 billion market cap. So you're going to forecast what you think earnings per share are going to be in the long run. Then you're going to value the company based on a price earnings multiple, based on your earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years. And that's the only reason to invest in an unprofitable company right now. Now, when it comes to Brown and Brown, ticker BRO, which is something my kids used to call my wife all the time, bro, when they were younger. My wife's like, I'm not your brother, I'm your mom. It's kind of a boring company, to be intellectually honest. Yeah, it trades, it is profitable. It trades at around 20 to 25 times earnings, but organic growth is actually negative for BRO, and that's deadly. And you don't want to invest in companies where organic growth is negative. What is organic growth? And we're going to go to sec.gov in a second and pull up documents on both IoT as well as BRO. Well, organic growth means how much the company is growing internally, meaning not acquired stuff. So if you look at retail companies like Lululemon or McDonald's, all investors care about is same-store sales, SSS. That's organic growth. Investors only give credit to McDonald's, for example, for growing organically, which is why McDonald's always offers new products, coffee, etc. They build their seats in such a way that when you sit at McDonald's, the plastic is uncomfortable after 20 minutes to get you in and out of the store fast. Organic growth. So let's first of all go to sec.gov and we'll take a look really quickly at ticker BRO. And then we'll look at IoT. And I'll tell you how to do investment research so you can decide if you want to invest in companies. Never take my advice or anybody's advice. Always do your own research. Okay, good. All right, so by law, the SEC, which is the United States Government Securities and Exchange Commission, they mandate that if you're publicly traded, you have to disclose all of your financials at least 4 times per year. Let me explain how. So let's go together to sec.gov. And then first of all, let me do BRO first. I'll take up ticker here, BRO. Okay. So this is an insurance company, really boring company. You click here on 8K. 8K means an important press release, right? Like earnings, for example. So I click here and they reported earnings a couple days ago, January 26. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click here on the press release and I'll show you here. So right here, it says that organic growth was actually negative 3%. That's not exciting for me. That's a showstopper for me. Okay, let's go now very quickly to ticker IOT. So Samsara reported earnings last time in December, I believe. Let's see here. Yeah, back in December 4th. Okay. And they reached their first profitable quarter, I believe, at that point, but it's still not a profitable company. Let me see here. Yeah, right here. First quarter of GAAP profitability. I'll explain GAAP versus non-GAAP in a second. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to do your own investment research. How do you do that? Well, I've got a 100-step template that you can use, okay, in order to assess whether or not you should invest in a company. And this is based on my work experience, starting my own hedge fund, venture capital firm, working at Goldman Sachs, hedge funds, et cetera, for decades and decades. I'm an old man. So there's 3 categories of research I want you to do before investing in a stock, okay? Number 1, you're going to do qualitative research, then quantitative, then financial. So when you do qualitative research, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to analyze the management team, okay? So you're going to enter in all the stuff here, okay, answer all the questions, and what you'll get is an executive summary and a detailed report out of this. So you always start with a management team, because what is a company? It's the quality of the management team. It's not something they teach you in business school, but they should. And after you do all of your qualitative research, like what they sell, catalyst drivers, secular stuff, and I can talk about this in more detail if you want me to, then you do quantitative research, right? You have to be able to analyze the data. Otherwise, you have an opinion and not an investment thesis. Then what you're going to do is you're going to analyze the total addressable market, never invest in a company in a tiny market, and never start a company in a tiny market. Then you're going to look at market growth, market share, et cetera. And the most important part is you're going to forecast the financial statements. Okay, and this is where you find out per this whether the earnings per share are going to be attractive enough for you to invest. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to forecast revenue first, like I showed you with that model. Then you're going to forecast the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and then you're going to value the company using 3 valuation methodologies: price earnings, price revenue, DCF, to get a target price of all 3. And then this will create here a 1-page executive report for you. This is dummy data here, and a detailed report. Now, you got to take it a step further, because you can't just look at financial statements in a nutshell. You have to analyze the 10K, meaning the annual report, closely and look at what are called the footnotes. And I'm going to show you how very quickly. So I have another product here for my clients where we get to analyze financial statements from a forensic financial statement analysis perspective using AI. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter in the company name, select our AI prompt level, and then we're going to answer just a ton of questions. And the most important thing to analyze when you're analyzing financial statements are the footnotes. Okay, because the footnotes for the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement will tell you what is not disclosed in the numbers, but what carnage may be coming soon, like 5 years of debt payments, et cetera. And so once you answer all these questions, you got an executive 1-page report, or you have right here a 24-page due diligence report as well. So the way it works, and the most important document you could ever read in finance, is the 10K. The 10K is the annual report. So here it is right here. In my programs, I teach you how to read financial statements like a good book. Okay, and the footnotes are all in here as well, and I can show you how to access them if you want. Thank you. All right, let me go back to Big Chris mode, and let me talk very quickly about the difference between GAAP and non-GAAP. So there's GAAP means generally accepted accounting principles. And what GAAP means, pardon me, is GAAP is what is your net income, including non-cash crap, like depreciation, okay? And then accountants look at GAAP. Finance people look at non-GAAP, meaning they're forecasting the future from a cash perspective. So finance people look at non-GAAP, which gets rid of non-cash entries like depreciation, stock options, etc. And I like to look at non-GAAP when I forecast financial statements, because I like to forecast what I think cash earnings are going to be in 5 to 10 years, and then value the company based on my earnings estimates. And if you have more questions about that, please let me know. Give me 1 second to grab some water here. So if you're if you're a singer and your voice starts to go, you take Clear Voice. And you can get this before interviews as well. So give me 1 second. feel like this is the Truman Show. Clear voice. Yeah. Please tell me somebody got that reference. All right, let me move on now. Next questions. Okay, next question is the optimal approach to have around 18% debt relative to equity, and why? Yeah, it all depends whether you're consumer or corporate. Okay, if you're a consumer, you want the rating, you want the ratio to be 0.3 to 0.5%. What does that mean? Well, for the rest of your life, whenever you see a formula, I always want you to assume the denominator is a number 1. So we have debt divided by equity. That means for every $1 in equity, the right amount for consumer is to have 30 to 50 cents in debt. Okay? And then for companies, the right number is under 2, depending on the sector you're in. What does that mean? Well, a debt to equity ratio of 1.5 means for every $1 in equity you have denominator, you have $1.50 in debt. And it all depends on what interest rates are. If you can get a sweetheart of a deal where you're only paying, 1 or 2% on debt, then it makes sense, in my humble opinion, to have a debt to equity ratio of closer to 2 for corporate than when interest rates are very, very high. Yeah. Okay. Now, when it comes to consumer debt in general, meaning total liabilities, I'm going to show you how it works with real estate. And it's okay to actually have a mortgage because you do get the interest write-off and you're saving a ton of money, obviously, on rent. So let me show you here really quickly. So for my clients, I have a complete real estate course. And let's go here to formulas. So I think it's higher. So debt to equity ratio, yeah, for consumers, you want it to be below 2, right? And in this case, I'm talking about total liabilities to equity, okay? So in this case, in this example, this person has 186 grand in equity and 638,000 in liabilities. That would be a debt to equity of 3.43, which is too high. If anybody has questions, please let me know. Thanks. All right. All right, next question I've got is, can you explain, using simple numbers, sure, and after-tax results, absolutely, why selling a winning stock and reinvesting the proceeds into new ideas leads to lower returns over time? Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll use a really, really simple example. Okay, so let's say you buy a stock today, right? And by the way, when you guys invest in stocks, I want you to think like Warren Buffett. When Buffett bought Coca-Cola around 1990, which his fund, Berkshire, still owns today, when he bought it, he told himself, I'm assuming the market's going to be closed for 10 years. In fact, he does that with all stocks. The longer the view, the wiser the intention. That way you're not going to fucking panic sell. It's true. And we've all made that mistake, eh? Selling something because it gets cheaper. In fact, Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff and it goes on sale. Think about that. Let's get back to the example now. Let's say that I bought Coca-Cola, okay? And by the way, if you bought Coca-Cola day 1 when it went public, you're down 50% 1 year later. But obviously you're up a fortune if you held it for the long run. So let's say you bought a stock, Coke, for example, okay? And I'm going to make this up. And Coke will never double in a year. It's very rare because it's already mature. Let's say you put $100 into Coke and it doubles. Okay, great. In a year, it's worth $200. Okay, you don't sell it, so you don't have to pay taxes. Okay, and then let's say next year that $200 it doubles again. Now it's $400. Wow, that's great. Well, you're not paying taxes unless you sell it, right? And if it's in your 401k or RRSP in Canada or a tax shelter, if you sell it, you're not going to pay taxes anyway. But let's say again, the example is you own it year 1, it's $100. It doubles, it's $200, doubles again the year after, it's $400. Let's say that you sell it after 1 year, okay? And just for fun, I'm going to pretend tax rate is 50%, although it's not, okay? So it's $100 now, you buy it, it doubles to $200. So you're going to sell it, right? And you're going to pay taxes on it, okay? So that's now $150, okay, you have. And say you buy it back for some reason, right? And then it doubles again the next year, then it's at $300. You just lost $100. How? Because if you didn't sell it, you'd have $400. How? Because $100 right now. Next year, it doubles. Now it's $200. You didn't sell. The year after, it doubles. Now it's $400. Whoa. Let's go back to the awful scenario where you sold it and you're paying taxes. $100 you buy it. It's worth $200. You sell it. You pay 50% taxes for just for example here. So now you have $150. Then you buy it back. It doubles again. Now you have $300 next year. Oh, you gave up $100. You have to be long-term focused. Always, always, always. Okay. And there's so many of us that made the cardinal sin of selling a stock because it's gone down a little bit. We've all done this, man. So what I want you to do is this. I want you to take a look at the chart of all stocks you've sold in the past that you're kicking yourself for selling and ask yourself why you sold it. The chart probably looks like this. You panicked, and now it looks like this. The bottom line is, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. Don't be a freaking day trader, please. Be a long-term investor, okay? And a lot of people hate it when I say this. And I say it with love in my heart because I care. Give me the name of a successful day trader that's been successful for decades. They don't exist. Why? Because it's like freaking gambling. You're fooled by randomness. Every single month has 20 days where you can invest, right? 20 days the markets are open, 20 weekdays. Stocks go up and down in a short amount of time for random reasons you really can't forecast. Please be long-term focused. Yeah. And the best way to do that is to think about it this way. When you're doing investment research on a stock you're considering investing in, I want you to ask yourself this question. In 5 years, will this company and the sector it's in be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? Be long-term focused. And what I want you to do is I want you to look for 5x5s. And that means a stock that has a 500% return within 5 years. Meaning look at mid-caps if you can. Yeah. Okay, next question is, when is the best time to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple ETFs? Yeah. So you got to be really careful in all asset classes when it comes to FOMO, which means fear of missing out. I don't recommend buying things when they're at all-time highs or close to it. What I recommend doing is this. Buy those asset classes, okay, especially cryptos, when the RSI is 20 to 30, meaning relative strength index, okay? You got to panic, and you got to think like Wayne Gretzky. You know, Wayne Gretzky was very successful, not because he skates where the puck is, but rather because he skates where the puck is going to be. And by the same token, I want you to invest in stocks that people are going to like, or asset classes. Yeah, and just be long-term focused. Again, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And when it comes to cryptos, I never want you to have more than 5% of your liquid net worth in cryptocurrencies. Now, when it comes to doing investment research on cryptos, it's a little bit different because they don't have earnings. What you do, and in my MBA degree program, you get this for free here. What you're going to do is you're going to analyze what is the total addressable market for all cryptos, and then figure out what percent of that TAM a crypto is going to have. Okay, and there's 49 steps to doing investment research on cryptos that I provide my clients with. And my target price on Bitcoin, and I'm confident it's going to happen. My target price is $1 million in about 20 years. And if you want, I can go through my thesis on that and the math behind it. Okay. Okay, next question is, same as us. Silver and gold have outrun tech in terms of returns in the past year, and maybe even this year. What are your opinions on it? Yeah. So structurally, what's happened is this. So the Trump administration has created a lot of friction and uncertainty. And historically, the lowest risk investment has been the US dollar. Okay, U.S. debt, because the United States government is the last entity on the planet that'll ever go bankrupt. So if you're the Chinese government or the Canadian government or, I don't know, the government in Europe, and you're a little bit shaken, a little bit worried about the stability of the United States financial system when it comes to global trade, if you're worried about that, then that might mean that, well, the United States dollar might decrease in value. Well, wait a second. If I'm the Bank of England or the Minister of Finance in Japan, whatever, why would I buy more U.S. debt if I'm worried about the stability of the U.S. financial system? So what else can I buy instead? Well, what is the next best or lowest risk investment on the planet? It's this. That's it. And so the Chinese government is likely buying the crap out of this. Okay. And this has a somewhat of a correlation to silver as well. And if you're not going to buy dollars and you want to buy something low risk, you do this first, silver second, copper third. And all three are at all-time highs. Yeah. So it is what it is. Now, I've been saying for years, you should always have a position in gold. Okay. 5% of my portfolio is always in gold. But I wouldn't buy it right now, because I never buy anything when it's at an all-time high. Okay? Just be patient. You'll be able to buy it lower. I promise you. Yeah. We live in interesting times, eh? Okay. And you got to use game theory always when you invest. You got to put yourself in the shoes of the Chinese government or Mark Carney in Canada, who I respect, even though I'm not a liberal. Yeah, you got to think in those terms. You got to think longer term. What will they do? Yeah, yeah. And when it comes to Trump, and I've been saying this forever to you guys, don't focus on what he says, please. Focus on what he does. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever seen gold or silver blow up bad, like correct 30, 40% ever in your career? Does it crash like Bitcoin? No. I don't think that'll ever happen. Not in a short amount of time. No. Okay. What do you think of global stability when gold reaches all-time high? I remember we were talking about it when it was 4,200 last year. And this month it's up like 20%. What is going on in our mad world? Yeah. So as I mentioned before, from a game theory perspective, right? Just think of 3D chess, thinking a couple of moves ahead of other people. You're the Chinese government or global governments. You've lost faith in the American financial system to a certain extent. So where are you going to put your money? Well, the lowest risk investment, I still think, is U.S. Treasuries, but maybe gold is. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's safe to have investments in both. Yeah. And I still believe that, the last company on this planet to ever go bankrupt would be the U.S. government. Yeah. What is going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum? They now look like NFTs. Look how people know about them but don't want to touch them. Yeah, I humbly disagree. So NFTs are much more speculative. I believe in Bitcoin and to a lesser extent Ethereum longer term. Now, I like Bitcoin better. Bitcoin's at 80,000-ish right now. That's not a massive pullback. And I'd probably look to accumulate after you do your own research. I think it's going to be worth $1 million at one point. In 20 years, I can run through my thesis if you want. Now, I like both Bitcoin and Ethereum. I've been saying that for years. Okay, and the difference, though, is that Ethereum, what worries me about it is that there's no supply limit. Whereas Bitcoin, there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin by the year 2140. So why do I own Ethereum? Well, I own a much smaller position in Ethereum than I do Bitcoin. But I own Ethereum because it's a platform, right? So you mentioned NFTs. So most NFTs are minted, meaning created on the Ethereum platform. Same thing with ICOs or kind of like IPOs for cryptos. Yeah. But again, there's no limit in terms of supply for Ethereum, which is why it's a much smaller position for me. Yeah. Okay. The godfather of AI says most white-collar jobs would be gone. Same was said by another godfather, Joshua Benju. Why are these people predicting doom when they made the same tech for decades? Yeah, dude, don't worry. Things are always better than what the naysayers say. Okay, if I listen to everything Nouriel Roubini said, I'd probably go live in a hut in the middle of New Zealand. Just don't listen to the naysayers. Things are good. Okay, think about it this way. Okay, So back in the 1980s, everybody was worried because of Japanese robotics, Japanese automation companies like Fanuc, et cetera, and robotics and factories, taking away share from blue collar workers, et cetera. Never happened. We all adapted. Fuck, we got services based jobs. Then in early 1999, when Google came out of beta, the same Luddites were saying, "Oh, we're screwed," because Google is rewiring our brain and we don't have to ever think as Google will. Please. Then in late 2001, when Wikipedia was released, people said, well, Wikipedia is going to do all of our thinking for us and research. Whatever. Same thing now with AI. Don't worry. Use AI to work smarter and not harder. And if you're worried about AI taking your job, then what I would do is this. Make sure whatever you do, you're front facing, meaning you're working on customer service or, more importantly, sales, right? Because if you have a direct line to customers, paying customers, I don't think AI is going to take that away. Because quite frankly, we don't trust AI. Yeah. And please be careful. If there's anybody watching this that is a salesperson in a company and you're getting promoted to management, make sure if you get into management that you still have some of your key clients, okay? Yeah, next question is, what do you think of the current Japanese debt bomb being set off right now? It's very tragic. So the Japanese economy did incredibly well post-World War II, and then in the 1980s, when people were worried during the Reagan administration and then eventually the Bush administration, that Japan's GDP would be greater than the United States, something was created called the Plaza Accord. And what the Plaza Accord did was it made the United States currency a little bit weaker compared to the yen. And Japan has not really grown much since then. I mean, the Nikkei reached an all-time high, which it touched recently, but all-time high around 1990, right? And the problem with Japan is this, and it breaks my heart. And by the way, when I worked at Goldman in the 90s, the first IPO I worked on was the NTT Docomo IPO, which it was $18.3 billion IPO, biggest IPO in the world that time. But the problem with Japan is this. There's about 130 million people in Japan right now, and it's going to go down to 80 million in several decades. It's really, really tragic. They've tried fiscal policy, monetary policy. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. It's very sad. Yeah. And I hope they can turn it around. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But my gut is that the Minister of Finance and the Department of Treasury and Federal Reserve are going to partner on something to make sure there's stability between the yen and the dollar. Yeah. But the Trump administration, it's really interesting because, since the Nixon administration, remember in 1972, Nixon took us off the gold standard, or Richard Nixon, I'm not a criminal. Since the Nixon administration, the policy has been a strong U.S. dollar. Well, that just changed, and it's fascinating. The Trump administration just said, this is the first time I've ever seen this in my entire life, said, I don't mind a weaker dollar. That's what he said. Isn't that interesting? I've never seen a president ever say that before. He said, I don't mind a weaker dollar. And I think the reason he's doing this is because, there's these tariff wars going on. But if we have a weaker dollar, think about it, then American exports are cheaper, right? So it's actually not a terrible idea. The problem with that is twofold, though. Number one, it makes stuff more expensive for American consumers, meaning stuff that's built overseas. And number two, it could hurt the U.S. dollar valuation relative to other currencies in the long run, which means that the United States dollar as the world's reserve currency might be a bit shakeable longer term. We don't know. We don't know. And it makes sense now why big economies like China, et cetera, are buying gold. Makes sense. And I think this trade is going to work for at least a decade, if not longer. Yeah. So anyway, we know that cash is trash. The United States government has increased the amount of cash out there by close to 50% since COVID. Yeah, it's deadly. Yeah, there's $96 trillion worth of M2, meaning cash from all countries out there in the world. It was 90 trillion during COVID. That's a big increase. Yeah. Okay, next question is, hey, Chris, how are you? Always good. Hope you're doing well. Any tips for dealing with office bullies without going HR? Yeah, I've been through that, man. I've been through that. And the bullies you're dealing with, they peaked in high school, and I promise you at some point they'll get caught. Yeah, their career will hit a wall. Okay, here's how you deal with office bullies. Okay, so a couple things, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about office politics, which I hate, which is why I'm self-employed. Okay. All right. First of all, if somebody says something to you at work, and if you say I agree or I disagree, it's going to hurt you politically. You say 2 words. You ready? I understand. Because I understand doesn't mean I agree or disagree with you. It just means I understand. You can use that in relationships too, please. Yeah. It may or may not work in personal relationships. Yeah. Another thing you can do is you have to stand up to a bully. Okay. And they'll respect you more for it. So little things like if they're making fun of you, right? You could say something back to them that's not going to be repeatable and hurt you. You can say, are you finished? Or are you talking about yourself? That sort of thing. Yeah. Now it's tougher, obviously, if it's your boss. You know, if it's your boss, it's really hard. It might just be best to find a job elsewhere. Yeah. So I was bullied a lot when I worked actually at Accenture by a couple bosses, right? Most of them were great, but there was one in particular when I worked at Accenture. It's a good company. I'll tell you, it was 1995. I was in Toronto on Jarvis Street working on the merger between Confederation Life and Manulife. And it was about 10 p.m. one night. And this associate partner from the San Diego office, I can't tell you his name, it's killing me, although his first name rhymes with Rom. Yeah. But he said to me, Chris, print out this database report. And I tried really hard to print it out, and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't want to fuck up the database. And I said, I tried really hard, Tom. Sorry. I couldn't figure it out. I don't want to mess it up. And he looked at me and he goes, it's because you're incompetent. And he turned around and he walked away. And another time, I remember we were out drinking. And be careful when you're out drinking. Don't, like my grandfather, God bless him, he told me, don't drink at work, right? When you go out with your buddies, etc. He told me just get a 7-Up with lime. So it looks like gin and tonic. But there's one manager that I worked for named Greg that kind of grabbed me and pushed me and all that stuff. He's a bad drunk. So be careful of that. And, I was pissed off at the time. I was like, what do I do? And he's my boss. If I say anything, I'm fucked. Right? So that motivation, I'm grateful to God it happened, because I would be nothing without that happening. That motivated me to get a better job, start my own company. Yeah. And so you might not understand this right now, but if you're frustrated at work and you're being bullied, it might be a blessing, because these schmucks peaked in high school. You know what I'm talking about? And it will force you to get a better job, to make way more money, or better yet, start your own company. And I'm here to help you with that as well. That's why I do this. I want to help you. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, if you're unfairly criticized at work, or in any aspect of your life, I want you to tell yourself this. I'm going to repeat this quote twice because it means so much to me. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. Let me say it again. Please write this down. Unjustified criticism is a disguised compliment. So when somebody criticizes you at work or in any aspect of your life, they're incredibly insecure. And in your mind, I want you to say this in your mind. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. Yeah. And then channel your frustration and get a better gig. And I'm here to help you do that as well. Or better yet, start your own company. Yeah, yeah. Now, if the bullying is intolerable, it's just awful, it happens over and over and over again, then go to HR. And I know you mentioned, what do I do aside from going to HR? But just go to HR. Don't put anything in writing. Go to HR and complain. Okay? Log that complaint. Because if you're let go, then you have a lawsuit. And you could sue the pants off them. So if anybody has been bullied and you log something with HR and you got let go, I want you to call an attorney and see if you can get a lawsuit started. Now, what happens with these deep-pocketed Fortune 500 companies is they don't want these lawsuits getting out. So sometimes just a threat, a call from a lawyer, they settle. It happens all the time. All the time. Okay? Now, if you want a cheap lawyer, just go to LegalZoom.com. Now, if you have been let go, even if it was like a year or two ago, because you were bullied, fuck it. I want you to call LegalZoom, talk to a lawyer, right? I'm not sponsored by LegalZoom or nobody. Anybody, I can hear my mom saying. I just want to help you. Yeah. Just the threat. They'll pay you off. Yeah. Yeah. Now you understand why I don't take any sponsors. Because I represent you, the student. Okay? My clients. Yeah. It's not about money. All right. And if anybody else has tips on how to deal with office bullies without going to HR, please leave it in the chat. But a lot of times you have to stand up to them. You know, you stand up to a bully and that's good enough. Like for me, I remember I was in the 8th grade. I was in the 8th grade at high school. And I couldn't stand my teachers, man. Yeah. But I remember I was playing basketball and there was this massive guy there, right? And he was bullying me, right? And I pushed him over, right? He was like way bigger than me, right? I pushed him over, he fell down. And the teacher, this teacher was kind of cool. The gym teacher said, Haroun, get over here. And I went over to him and he looks at me and he goes, congratulations. And that was it. It's cool. And those who can't do, teach. And those who can't teach gym class. You know that's true about the gym teachers, but I'm kidding about the teacher part. All right. Next question is, what is the one question you've never been asked but would like to be asked? Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, I've done like over 10,000 hours of virtual instructor-led training. That's right. Over the past decade online. So I've had every question asked. I mean, this is week 348. Yeah. One thing I'd like to say, which I have been sort of asked before, is, you know, how do you deal with worrying? And to which I say this. And I know I'm going to lose viewers here, but I don't care. If you worry like crazy, then I ask you these questions. Okay. The first question of 2 is this. I say this all with love in my heart. Do you believe in God? Of course you do. The second question is this. Does God believe in you? Of course he does. It's unconditional love. Well, if you don't believe in yourself, then you might have to question your faith. And we're never going to do that. Don't worry, guys. Things are never as bad as you think. There we go. The view count's going down. I don't care. Things are never as bad as you think. Okay? And it's not work that kills us. It's worry. I want you to be happy every day. Just knowing that God has a plan for you. And you might not understand this right now, but the frustration you're feeling right now in your life is a blessing. It's not a stumbling block. It's a stepping stone. And you're going to look back many years from now, kind of like I have in my career, and say, thank you, God. I was frustrated at work. Thank you that I was bullied. Okay? Because that shaped my character, who I am today. More importantly, it allowed me to break free and start my own company. And a lot of people were bullied at work. Michael Bloomberg was actually at Merrill Lynch. He was actually fired. He's got his revenge. You know, Robert Redford, God bless me, recently passed away. He's great. He was actually fired at an oil company. Madonna was fired from Dunkin' Donuts, etc. Yeah. Okay. Let me move on now. Okay. Okay. I have to ask you about Bobby Axelrod in the Billions episode, and I've done reviews on 34 episodes so far, where his rival, the Treasury Secretary, owned a stock and Bobby wants to short it. He says short 2 million and cover went down 10%. Will he make 10% or use leverage or something and make more? Yeah, he could use leverage. Okay, now I want you guys to be careful. I don't want you guys to use leverage ever when you invest. So leverage means you borrow money to invest. So for example, if you have $100 and you short a stock, right, and you don't use leverage and it goes down 10%, you make 10%. If you use leverage of 2x, meaning you have $100, but you actually short $200 worth, then you make 20%. Now, in the fall of 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, a lot of hedge funds used 10x leverage, meaning ones ran market neutral, meaning for every $1 they had $10 invested. And a lot of them went belly up because of that. And the ones that didn't put up the gates, otherwise they would have gone belly up. Please don't use leverage. Yeah. And don't short either, just buy puts. Yeah. Okay, next question is, hey Chris, I asked you about finding your purpose 2 weeks back. I followed the tip you gave and found that I enjoy sharing what I know with others and talking on stage. Does this mean that I can teach? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And when one teaches to learn, and everybody has something to teach. That's why YouTube exists, right? And what I want you to do is I always want you to think of, how can I help others? Yeah. Yeah. And welcome to the other side. I'm very happy to hear that you found your passion, your purpose, public speaking, etc. You either want to inspire people or be inspired. You chose this side, and I respect you for that. Now, I used to be terrified of public speaking. Like, I'd literally rather die than public speak, right? And what I did was I ran to my fears. And I want you guys to do this too. Whatever you're fearful of in business, whether it's accounting, public speaking, whatever, I want you to run to your fears, okay? And I want you to condition yourself to tell yourself you love your fear. So for me, my fear was public speaking. I was terrified. So what I did was I went to Redwood City, California, close to where I live, down south here, about half hour south. And I went to the McGuire Correctional Facility, which is jail. And through the St. Vincent de Paul Society, I registered to go into the prison system to give speeches, right, to help out, right? It was done through the church. And then I became a Eucharistic minister. I'm Christian. I do all this stuff. But anyway, run to your fears because your competition won't. Yeah. Okay. How can I start teaching with little or no capital? And is it possible for me to teach because I'm just 21 and I haven't worked in any particular industry for many years? Any tips what to teach? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So age is irrelevant and money is irrelevant when it comes to being on YouTube or any social media platform. Okay. And I'll call Udemy a social media platform as well. So whatever you're most passionate about, that's what you're going to teach. And if you look at Ninja, so my kids still play Fortnite. And there's a guy who streams Fortnite over Twitch, makes a gazillion every year, named Ninja. And when he started out in his early 20s, he didn't know what to teach. And so he started teaching on Udemy on how to use Twitch. So teach whatever you're passionate about. Or what you can do is the best way to learn something is to teach it, right? So a lot of the topics that I teach, I start doing research on, I don't know much about them. But when I teach it, I become much more knowledgeable and a content matter expert, etc. And what I want you to do also is whatever your passion is and whatever you want to teach about, I want you to create a LinkedIn profile. And I want you to create an article every week on that topic, whatever it is. Okay. It becomes self-fulfilling. I think, therefore I am. Okay. And you get great social proof that way as well. So write one article per week on whatever it is you're passionate about. And then what you're going to do is after, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, you got 50 to 100 articles. You're going to repackage that stuff into a book, which is what I've done with a lot of my books. Yeah. So, and a lot of my books that you guys have read or whatever, all it is just an export of the closed caption files from a course or a YouTube event. Repurpose all your content. And that's what Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about. Yeah, repurpose content. So when you're watching this weekly webcast here, this gets repurposed into vlogs as well. And that's the secret of how to scale your empire, so to speak. Not that I have one, but I'll show you. So if we go to my website, harounmba.com, and I click here on YouTube, and I go to Shorts. So right here, yeah, every day, this just got published here. And this is based on questions. So somebody asked me about Mark Carney, I guess a week ago or something. I answered it, and we just repurpose this stuff. That's it. Everything is repurposed. So all the questions that people ask me on this webcast get repurposed. That's it. And a lot of my vlogs is as well. Yeah. So anyway, that's how I do it. And then for those of you that watch my Billions vlogs and all my other vlogs, etc., the one I'm working on right now is The Social Network, right? So the movie The Social Network, and that will be out. I'm trying to get that out by next week. And I love to teach business based on movies as well, just because I've taught every business topic I can think of, humbly. So it comes out next week. And part 2 of The Social Network is coming out later this year, I believe, as well. So I'm getting in front of that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah. And if there are any other movies or TV shows you guys want me to create vlogs on to teach as part of my Wall Street Pro Reacts to series, please let me know in the chat. Thank you. Okay. There's a request here for me to do a reaction video on other people's money. Yeah, I'll do that one eventually. So if you guys want to learn about how private equity works, watch that movie, Other People's Money. It's an oldie but a goodie with Danny DeVito, who is in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That show as well. Yeah. And then I might do this one as well, Trading Places, to explain how futures, options, derivatives work. This is an oldie but a goodie with Dan Aykroyd, who's Canadian represent, and Eddie Murphy, who's one of the funniest. I love that guy. I love everything about him, man. Yeah. And without him, I don't think there'd be a Dave Chappelle and all that stuff. And without Richard Pryor, maybe there would. I don't know, but I absolutely love them. Yeah. Okay. So somebody asked, is that a real gold bar? No, it's fake. Like I'm a fake teacher. Yeah. No way. Yeah. Don't buy gold bars, by the way. A lot of people used to do that. A lot of people used to go to seedy parts of town, pay cash for gold bars, put it in their bank, put it in a bank vault, and then sell it years later without paying taxes. Don't do that. And the reason I say don't do that is because you don't know if what you're buying is real. Yeah. The biggest risk, by the way, of the gold trade, okay, well, a couple risks are, a new administration in the United States. That's one risk. Another risk also is if we can figure out how to synthetically create gold. And we can do it right now, by the way, synthetically create gold, right? Through a particle acceleration. It's just right now, it's very expensive to do that, but we know the price will come down for that. So that's something you want to monitor. Yeah. And I don't care how bullish you are in any asset class, never have more than 5% of your liquid net worth in anything, be it gold, a single stock, Bitcoin, cryptos, whatever. Even if a company has a cure for cancer. Okay. Just from a risk mitigation, risk management perspective, I want you guys to be careful. Hey, Ted, how are you? Ted wrote, how's the school in Kenya coming along? It's good, man. It's good. These things always take longer than expected. So I did a call recently with Marin 2 weeks ago on the school. We're making progress because this is a school I'm building for girls in Kenya. So I'll show you here. We're making progress. We've got the land. The thing is, we have to see down here at the bottom of the land, there's water. And what we need to do is we have to get water pumped up into the school for sanitation reasons. And we're still trying to get approval from the community. So it takes a little bit of time, but we'll get there as well. So I was there recently. I might go there this summer, definitely next summer, just to cut the ribbon when we're done with it. Yeah. And then, of course, many of you know about the school I finished a couple of years ago now in Rwanda. And this is why I do what I do. I'm building 1,000 of these things in Africa. And yes, if I was a quota-carrying sales rep, I'd probably be fired so many times, but I don't care. Because I believe in what Nelson Mandela said, which is education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. And I also believe in what Malala said, which is with guns you can kill terrorists, but with education you can kill terrorism. I think terrorism is just ignorance. That's all it is. Yeah. So this bad boy here is solar powered. As you can see on the wall, it's kind of hard to see. You see that line there and right here. All the electricity is powered on the roof, and I paid for this thing from the profits from what I do. So when you guys take my courses or whatever it is, thank you. You're part of building these as well. Yeah. And this school here that we built in the middle of Rwanda, a remote town. It's really interesting. It's morphing into a meeting center now as well. And then up there we got solar on the roof, and here's the degrees we gave when I was there last teaching, and that's me getting water. And then this here, that's my son Matthew on the left. That's when we had the opening party, which is fun. And that's Vital's mama. God bless her. Vital's father passed away in the genocide back in 2004. Yeah, and there's the roof. Okay, yeah. Thank you for asking. Okay, let me see. All right, next up, and I read every comment in question here. I don't skip anything. More governments are buying gold and silver and less U.S. debt. Bills, Russia, China, India, Europe, and even Canada are now buying less U.S. debt, and it will continue this way. Yeah. It's true, and I've seen the data. You can go to treasury.gov, and you can map all this, and you can see the amount of U.S. debt that China is buying is going down every single month. Yeah. And I believe that, and I said this before. I don't want to be redundant, but Mark Carney, who's Prime Minister of Canada. So there's a reason why Trump respects him more than Trudeau. And one reason is because, Trudeau was the worst prime minister in Canadian history. I went to school with him at McGill. I could tell you funny stories. We graduated in the same year. And also Carney stands up to people. And Carney also was the head of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. So he understands behind the scenes, in my humble opinion, how to weaken currencies. Yeah. Although I did hear Trump call him for the first time Governor Carney. Yeah. Carney's a good guy. Although I'm not a fan of the Liberal Party at all. But I like him. I respect him. Yeah. Okay. Japan dissolved, according to you, the Assembly. Prime Minister called elections just after giving a record budget and stimulus package. Why, and does it make sense? Yeah. So the problem is that when a company or a country starts going into secular decline, turnarounds rarely work. Think about it in tech, and I'll come back to Japan in a second. But in tech, Research in Motion, my beloved Canadian BlackBerry company, In January of 2007, Steve Jobs gave his epic keynote speech on the iPhone. Okay. And at that point, research in motion started becoming a little bit less relevant. Turnarounds almost never work in tech unless the founder comes back. Yeah. Okay, it's the same thing with Yahoo. Once Google was released and Google started getting critical mass, Yahoo started becoming less relevant. It's game over. That's how it works with almost all companies. Turnarounds hardly ever work. Yeah, there are exceptions. I get it. The same thing, I think, over the long run with countries. Yeah. And it really breaks my heart because I absolutely love Japan. In my MBA degree program, we do a massive case study on Japan, on Nintendo. But it's really, really sad. I don't know how they're going to turn the economy around. It might take a lot of help from the United States in terms of the United States partnering with the Japanese Minister of Finance to be able to stabilize the currency. I don't know. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. Although I do believe that for geopolitical reasons, the United States and Japan will be best friends for the foreseeable future, of course. Okay. In a decade, people don't trust politicians, even here in my country. And I believe you're from Calcutta. You're based in India, yeah. Young people have least faith in decades. Your thoughts, yeah. Well, the advent of social media and better disclosure online, why would we trust politicians? Especially because a lot of politicians transact and have access to insider information. I don't want to name any politicians, but ones that rhyme with Rancy Relosi. Like, is it really fair that governments, politicians that run our country for the people, by the people, can transact based on insider information? Fuck no. I think we need reforms. I think we need massive amendments to the Constitution so that politicians don't have an edge over the rest of us. It's not fair. I don't think politicians should be allowed to buy stocks, period. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe once a year they can automatically buy S&P 500 over time, but yeah. Yeah, as you guys can probably tell, I'm more of a libertarian. So I didn't vote in the last election in the United States, but growing up in Canada, my hero was Ronald Reagan. That's why I came to the United States. And then finally I'm like, oh great, I can vote. And I'm like, I can't vote. I'm more of a libertarian. Yeah. Yeah. And I despise communism and socialism. Okay. All right, next up, hey Matt wrote, hey Chris, do you think AI will eventually be able to have access to live stock data and be able, yeah, it already does. It already does. So an example of a company that does that is Renaissance Technologies. Okay, so Renaissance Technologies was founded by a brilliant man who worked for the NSA named Jim Simmons. And he started his hedge fund in 1983. It's an AI-based hedge fund. Highly guarded. Nobody knows what's in the thousands of Linux servers that run in parallel to pick stocks. But his average return has been, 40, 50% for decades. Net of fees. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But not many people have figured this out. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then Ali. Hey, Ali. It's been a while, man. Hope you're doing well. You wrote here, you said in the US&A, if a fund manager manages more than $100 million asset under management, they have to disclose 13F. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So why doesn't this apply to Renaissance Technology Fund? It does. If there's a fund that's over $100 million in assets per SEC mandates, they have to disclose it. Right. But I don't, and so that's called a 13F. But I don't want you to look at Renaissance holdings and think these are good investments. Do your own research. Plus, there's a very high probability that those stocks they own, they might not own the next time they file 3 months from now because there's high turnover in their AI-based hedge fund. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think it's as good of an investment to invest in Renaissance anymore because Jim Simmons, God bless him, has passed away. And I don't believe in investing in companies when the founder is no longer running it. Same thing with Berkshire. Yeah. Because what is a company? It's a founder. It's people. Yeah. Okay. Ali wrote, I once heard you say, I do not give investment advice. But isn't it mandatory for a fund manager, which you were, to be an investment advisor or give investment advice? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, I pick stocks. I've managed over $1 billion in my career. Yeah. So, of course, I pick stocks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. But if you're like, and I worked at Goldman Sachs 8 million years ago. I worked there from 98 to 03. They make you take all these exams like Series 67 or Series 7, 63, the 3, I think. And I had to do CSC in Canada, Canadian Securities course, just because when you're on the phone, you might say, hey, here's a stock I like. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then Terror Bear wrote, your model from your program is a great starting point. Hope to learn more. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody wants to set up a call with me, you know, I love doing what I'm doing. Let me show you here. So all you have to do, and by the way, people ask me, what software do you use? I use Wirecast. Let me just get rid of that thing at the bottom there. Ouch! It hurts. I don't have legs. Hold on. Let me put my stomach back. This is really painful, guys. Okay. Okay. Much better. I was half the man I was before. Okay, give me a second. All right. So what you can do is go to harounmba.com. My humor is terrible. I'm sorry. And for those listening on Spotify, you're like, WTF, why the face? Okay. So go to harounmba.com/meeting and set up a meeting with me if you want. So again, that's harounmba.com/meeting. Okay, let me get back to Big Chris mode. Here we go. Okay. All right. All right, next question is, Chris, long time no see, good to see you. Back after leaving the CFA program, given that I'm unable to commit to the full 3 programs. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass, man, the CFA. I think it's better than a traditional MBA in terms of what you're going to learn in finance, but you can't really market yourself as a CFA until you've finished all 3 levels. Yeah. I'm at the point in my life where experience matters more. It does. Yeah, set up a call with me if you want. Yeah. What do you think of Howard Marks, the hedge fund manager? I've met him before. I sat beside him in first class on an airplane from New York to San Francisco, the left coast, at a conference years ago. I don't really know much about his investment style. Yeah. But he is well spoken. He speaks gooder than me. Yeah. Okay. How to live less in mind and more in the moment. Young people now live in head, myself included, and miss life for months and even years. Your opinion. I think the most pathetic thing you can possibly do, and I'm guilty of this, is to live your life and work hard all day, all night, every day, so that you can retire one day. What that means is you're working hard for more than 50 years so you can enjoy the last 5 to 10 years of your life. What a pathetic existence. I want you to be happy today. And I want you all to read the book, The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. And one of his quotes is this. He said, the problem with Western society is we sacrifice our health, our entire lives to make money. Then at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realized, I never really lived to begin with. I want you to enjoy every day. Make the most out of every moment. Yeah. Don't worry about the past. You can't control it. And in terms of the future, just work hard every day. You know, your 40, 50 hours, whatever it is. I do 80 hours a week, and I don't work on Sundays because I love every second of it. And your goal and my goal for you, and my purpose, my raison d'être, is to help you find your purpose. What were you put on this planet for? We're here to serve others. We're here to help people. We're here to put our dent in the universe to the extent that it's not about making money, but it's about when you leave this world, you make it a slightly better place than when you entered it. So if you're not sure what you want to do next, meaning you 2.0, think of it this way. You have 30 days off, eh? And for the next 30 days, you're not allowed to work. You can't go to school. You can't travel. Okay, and you can't take my courses or any courses. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever the answer is, that is your purpose, your passion, your next job, your next career, whatever it is. Let me help you make that happen. Tell me, share in the chat what you would do if you had 30 days off and you can't work, you can't go to school, can't travel. What would you do with your time? And let me help you turn that into your next career. Let me help you reinvent yourself. Yeah. Okay. And there's a formula. Let me see if I can show you this, guys. Give me 1 second. Ah, here it is here. Okay. The most important formula you guys are ever going to learn, okay? What you want is the denominator. What you have is the numerator. I want what you have to be way fucking bigger, that's right, than what you want. Because as Seth Godin said, you already have everything you need to build something far bigger than yourself. Retail therapy doesn't work. Unless it's GTA 6, in which case, fuck that shit I was just talking about, okay? And when GTA 6 comes out in November of this year, at some point in my life, I'm not doing these weekly webcasts for a month. Yeah, all right. Anyway. All right. Silver is up almost 60% just this month. Is there any upper limit to how much these assets can rise? Also, you explained to us when rates go down, risky assets go up and vice versa. But in the past 4 years, it has not happened. Yeah. So in the past, I would say past year, I would say that faith and trust and confidence in U.S. government has gone down when it comes to global investors, right? Now, obviously, I love capitalism. I despise communism, right? But if you're, I don't know, if you're a government official in a country outside the United States, are you more confident in the U.S. dollar and in your partnership with the U.S. today than you were a year ago, or less confident? Less confident. So does that mean that you're going to invest more dollar in U.S. securities, meaning U.S. dollars? No. So what are you going to buy? Other stuff? Well, what is other stuff? And other commodities. This, silver, copper, etc. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't believe, again, in buying any asset class when it's at an all-time high. I don't. I like to buy broken stocks, but not broken companies. What does that mean? Well, when a stock is massively oversold, right? Like Nvidia was, it had an RSI of like 20 or 30 back in April of 2025. That's when I buy stuff. I like to catch a falling knife, meaning a chart looks like death, right? I like to think differently. I like to be a contrarian. After I do my fundamental and valuation-based research. Yeah. When I'm in terrible stress and anxiety, I say to myself, God we trust, multiple times over and over and over again. Yeah. So I'll tell you what I do every morning, okay? When I get out of bed, I want you guys to do this too. And this is how I get into a peak mental state the second I get out of bed every day. I always thank God for 10 things. Okay. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, Christine, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, who I love. It's my best friend. And my little sister, Elizabeth, who's also my best friend. And the memory of my sister, Katie, who I can't wait to see again one day. I miss you. And then all of you, my students. I'm grateful for you. Try practicing gratitude, okay? Try being grateful for what you have before you get out of bed every day. You're an expert. Never saw a man who knows so much and so cool and knows great sports. Oh, thank you. God bless you. Those who can't do, teach. And those who can't teach gym class. And I suck at sports too. Oh, I hate it. Every time I upgrade my freaking operating system, it always does that. Sorry about that, guys. It's the drugstore because I'm trying to get a refill on atorvastatin, which is for my cholesterol. Yeah. And this is genetic. Yeah. I've tried everything. My cholesterol is high, except if I take this stuff, this statin. Right. Yeah. Anyway. All right. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. It just jumped on me. All right, there's so many questions. I won't be able to answer them all, but if you guys are in my my premium products, you can ask me in the 3-hour Zoom we have after this call. Okay. Give me a second. Why do you want more money? You can give the course for free since you're already rich and a ton of ethos? ? Yeah. So I want to build 1,000 schools. I don't have enough money right now to do that. Each school that I build costs $100,000. Let's just say, okay? So do the math. I would have to have $100 million liquid right now. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote, maybe dirty money, ? John Chase 145. Let me know what you mean by that, please. Thank you. Type in the chat. Okay. Okay. Next question is, why do people like Peter Thiel give lectures on Antichrist and Big Brother and authoritarian beliefs? Why do rich people do these things and urge to control mass? I'm not sure about Peter Thiel. He goes to the same church as a good friend of mine, Michelle, in San Francisco, so I'd be surprised on that. Yeah. Okay. All right. TP Breezy wrote, you're a great person. Thanks for everything you do. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Thanks. Okay. And then John Chase 145, please let me know what you mean by dirty money. And thank you. You've put me in the best mood ever. Okay. Okay. Next up, you should do Wall Street Pro Reacts to Boiler Room. I will for sure. It's about that company, JT Marlin, right? Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. According to somebody on the internet, XRP, which is the ticker for Ripple, okay, the founder lives not too far away from me, is the highway which is bound to progress considerably in the near future. Please comment. Maurice from Mauritius. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's a financial services based cryptocurrency. I believe in it longer term. I do. I own it. But please do your research first. Yeah. And there have been some issues with it. Just do a search on news and you'll see. Yeah. Yeah. Trump insulted Carney with the governor remark too after his amazing speech. Yeah, one time. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I'm still looking for John Chase 145 to let me know what he means when he said dirty money. Please. Thank you. Okay. All right. What are your thoughts on iron ore deposits found in Australia? Yeah, so I would say, generally speaking, very bullish on that market because iron ore is used, of course, for steel. China buys a lot of iron ore. You can do research on BHP if you want. Yeah. And I think that's what you're referring to. Thanks. Yeah. And then you wrote here, do you think 4.5 tons worth at current rate is enough to damage markets should they accelerate? Yeah. Just because resources are found in the ground doesn't mean supply is going to increase materially. Okay. And the best analogy, it depends how expensive it is to get that stuff out, right? So the best analogy I can use here is deep offshore drilling, which Petrobras does a lot of off the coast of Brazil, or heavy oil departments in Fort McMurray, Canada, for example. It only makes sense to mine that heavy oil stuff, tar sands, if the price of oil is above a certain level. Yeah. So don't worry about a massive increase in supply just because one natural resources-based company found reserves somewhere. You have to look at the cost of extraction. Then you can articulate what you think the impact is going to be on price if supply increases materially. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Will you be worried if Canada and China come way too close like they are now? Carney is kind of left-wing. He's liberal, yeah, but very disciplined and noble man. China is a communist nation and they own Africa now almost. I mean, they have a lot of influence in Africa. You know, every time I go there to build the schools I'm building, you know, I see a lot of beautiful roads and trains that they make to go in the middle of the Congo, DRC, take out resources and stuff. I wouldn't say they own it though. But if you're Canada, you kind of have no choice, right? Just use game theory. You know, if you know your biggest trading partner ever, you know, is increasing tariffs, what do? You have to look elsewhere. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Did you know that Nancy Pelosi has better portfolio returns than Ray Dalio and Bill Ackman? I wonder how. Yeah. I don't think government officials should be allowed to invest. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. I don't see any responses from John Chase. All right. My hero was JFK. Love that man and his peace policies in the Cold War era gone too soon. Yeah, he created the Peace Corps. Yeah, and NASA sort of too. He was a great man. Yeah, for a Democrat. I mean, he was a great man. Yeah. All right, Jason. Hey, Jason, how are you, buddy? Jason from Quebec. That's right. One of my new clients wrote, "Good morning, Chris. Any thoughts on the latest news of Alberta becoming independent and joining the USA? Seems like this idea is picking up steam." Yeah. I don't think it goes through. I don't. It's gaining steam now. I remember people first started talking about this last January or February. I don't think it'll happen. I don't. Yeah. I hope it doesn't. Yeah. But let me do more research on that and I'll get back to you. And what I'll do is, if you want, today during our 3-hour and 20-minute Zoom call, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. your time, Quebec time, we'll talk about that in more detail. Thanks. Do you have any videos on what happened to Japan? I must have mentioned it. Just, you can always do a search. Use AI to search on my YouTube channel in Japan. I've talked about it. I've answered every question there is. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question is, I have interest on multiple subjects like finance, technology, and personality development. How should I decide what to teach when I have interest in multiple subjects? Any tips? Thanks in advance. Yeah. So I would teach what you're most passionate about first, but don't be afraid to take risks. So for me, I thought all people wanted to hear from me was, I don't know, finance stuff. And I took risks. I started, doing personal development stuff, a little bit of entrepreneurship stuff. And the market guided me through comments and ratings, etc. So, I don't know, like maybe create YouTube videos on all topics and ask the audience and look at YouTube analytics, which are insanely great, to understand what demand is for each of your topics. And don't be afraid to take risks. Yeah. Okay. How did China become so important in the last 2 decades? They own 90% of rare earth and 95% of refining resources. They're a very good case study of from nothing to everything. Your thoughts? Yeah. So it actually wasn't just the past 2 decades. It all started around 1972 when Richard Nixon visited China. Everybody's been trying to get into China since the beginning of time. You go back to the Opium Wars, etc. Hong Kong was kind of the entry point for that, which the British had to hand over after a 100-year lease in 1997. China's been slowly transitioning from communism to capitalism, and they say that it's cliche, but Chinese capitalists or Chinese communists are the best capitalists. And so, the thought process in China has been that China is going to make small moves every few years, right? And if you're going to move from communism to capitalism, you have to do it slowly over time, right? Otherwise, it ends up like Russia, which went from communism to corruption too quickly. Yeah, I'm not saying capitalism is corruption. I don't think it is. But you have to move slowly, right? And so China is very, 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 very long-term focused, right? They make like 50 to 100-year bets. And just like Warren Buffett said with Coca-Cola and other stocks he invested in, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. You have to be a long-term investor. Yeah. All right. I love Canada so much, says Manas from India. I might immigrate in the future. Maybe I feel pain in heart when certain leaders insult Canada. I feel bad why Canada gets bullied for doing the right thing. Such amazing people. Great place to raise kids and family. Yeah. I love Canada and the United States. And yeah. But I think this is all just temporary, this bullying. I do. Yeah. But I also blame the Trudeau administration. Look, immigration's a beautiful thing. My father immigrated from Egypt to Canada in the 60s. I immigrated from Canada to the United States. But I will say that the Trudeau administration let too many people in a short amount of time. And a lot, it's not fair because the cost of housing now in Canada per capita is higher than even the United States. It's not fair. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Chris, can you give a quick overview of the type of analyst roles teams at hedge funds in both large funds and boutique firms / family offices? Yeah. So the larger the fund, the more analysts there are per portfolio manager. So the way it works is this. A portfolio manager manages the portfolio, hence the name. And this person has analysts reporting to them, right? And the analysts cover different sectors, right? Like, for example, tech, healthcare, financial services, retail, commodities, industrials, etc. Now, if it's a very big fund, they have multiple tech analysts, meaning analysts that cover semiconductors, software, internet, hardware, services, etc., telco, etc. Yeah. So that's how it works. Now, most hedge funds are plain vanilla long shorts. I mean, they just go long short stocks. But much bigger hedge funds, they have different types of strategies as well, including macro, meaning FX stuff, like George Soros used to do with the Quantum Fund. There's also event-driven, which means merger arb, meaning you go short the company making the acquisition, long the company being acquired. Hopefully the spread narrows over time. Yeah, that sort of thing. With family offices, I would say that for the most part, they don't really short stocks too often. They might indirectly because family offices may invest in hedge funds directly. But family offices are basically offices that allocate capital to other funds. Or might invest in real estate, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And if you have follow-up questions, Matt, please let me know. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, this webcast is a church and a temple. So pure and cool. I love being here. My 260th webcast with one miss. Thank you. I love you. Love you more, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. This is fun. Yeah. Okay. Marin, how are you? Marin wrote, hi, Chris. Hope you and yours are well. Awesome. Awesome. And I showed you, I guess about 20 minutes ago when I showed you Kenya and stuff. Yeah. Okay. And then Manas wrote, I hope your mom is doing well. She made a lovely boy. Thanks. Yeah, my brother Jamie. Yeah, she's getting better. Thank you for your prayers. Yeah, she's good. Okay, when did you sell your hedge fund? I didn't sell it. I actually morphed it into a venture capital fund. So it was a hybrid type fund. Yeah. Okay. What are some of the best ways to research on how to do pricing models, especially something like carbon pricing? I don't know the answer to that. I'm so sorry. But what I would do is I'd probably, if I were to do research on that, and you have to look at government incentives as well. And I hate investing in anything where there's massive government incentives because I want to invest in sectors that are sustainable. I would probably go to ChatGPT, go to deep research down here. Hold on a second. Deep research, and then ask that question. Okay. And I'd probably say, explain it to a 12-year-old, which is my maturity. Yeah. Yeah. But I usually don't invest in any sector that has any government subsidies at all. I like to invest in companies and sectors that can stand on their own 2 feet. Otherwise, you get your ass handed to you, which is what happened in late 2008 with investments in solar and all these other companies that got subsidies from the U.S. government. And the Spanish government, et cetera, they collapse. And it's interesting because Michael Porter, who's a brilliant professor at Harvard Business School, HBS, 2/3 of which is BS, he wrote this book in 2001 called Can Japan Compete? And of course they can. But he analyzed the Japanese economy. This is fascinating. So after World War II, the Japanese economy was in shambles for obvious reasons, right? And the Japanese government, what they did to help grow the economy or restructure it was they gave money to every single subsector in the economy, except for 2 subsectors, autos and consumer electronics. Those 2 sectors got nothing from the Japanese government. And lo and behold, if you look at what are the 2 most prosperous sectors of the Japanese economy over the past couple decades and today, it's autos and consumer electronics. It's kind of like giving a spoiled kid too much money. You want these companies to stand on their own 2 feet. Otherwise, what happens is with rich kids, first generation makes the money, the second spends it, and the third has none, which is what makes TV shows like Succession so great. And I did a vlog on Succession, the first episode. If anybody wants me to do the second episodes, et cetera, just comment in that video. Thanks. Okay. All right. And then Uncrashable wrote, excellent. Thank you. I'll research more into the extraction costs there. Yeah. Yeah. You also want to look at overall demand when it comes to steel from China with respect to Australia. Of course, iron ore goes into steel. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Mohammed. Hey, Mohammed wrote, what's one popular market narrative right now that you strongly disagree with and why? Market narrative right now. Yeah. That it's the downfall of the U.S. economy. And that the U.S. dollar is not going to be the reserve currency in the world. Yeah. The very last company and that the U.S. is taking on too much debt, it's not sustainable, and next year the United States government will go belly up. Like, I don't believe in that. The U.S. economy was created. It's actually quite brilliant. Love it or hate it. It was brilliant the way it was created. So basically, the U.S. economy is this. Many, many years ago, a bunch of people came over from Europe and they created America. And America is greatest hits of what worked in Europe, plus more checks and balances and stuff. And the United States, since World War II, has been the lender of last resort. And the United States is the government's last company to ever go, they'll ever go bankrupt. And that's why when you do financial analysis and use discounted cash flow, net present value, et cetera, the risk-free rate is, 3-month U.S. Treasuries or longer if you want. U.S. is not going bankrupt. Okay. The system is rigged in their favor. It is what it is to the extent that they can keep printing money. Yeah. Now, global confidence has been shaken, of course, given the new administration. But in the long run, I think things will normalize. Yeah. Things are never as bad as they seem. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I feel bad now. Anonymous said, I think he means Dirty Money documentary. It's on Netflix. I feel really bad, dude. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you were referring to me. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I misread John Chase 145. I'm sorry. John Chase 145 if you want. When you said dirty money, I'm so sorry. I thought you were referring to what I'm doing for a living. Yeah, I feel bad. John Chase 145, why don't you do this? Send me an email, and I'm going to give you a full scholarship to every program I've ever made. Okay? And set up a Zoom call with me, too. I feel bad. I'm so sorry, man. Yeah. Yeah. So John Chase 145. Here's what I want you to do, please. I'm going to put in my meeting link right here. Click that, John, and then set up a call with me, and then I'll show you. I'll give this to you for free. So here's my product for those of you that care. Okay. So I've got a product where you get access to all my courses. My 500-hour MBA program, hundreds of hours of my other stuff, and a lot of this stuff is not on Udemy, and it's about to get pulled off actually. But anyway, you get access to all of this forever, and then what you also get access to is there's an app for all this as well, and this app there's an iOS app. I feel so bad, man. I'm so sorry. Where you can watch all my crappy stuff. And there's an Android app as well. I spent over close to $100,000, including consulting fees and employee time putting this together last year. And the great thing about this app is that people are wonderful here. They introduce each other. They share wins as well. They ask questions. You get access to tons of events with me as well. And there's 152 people in this program. So John Chase 145, I want you to set up a call with me. I'm going to give this to you for free. I'm going to give you consulting one-on-ones with me, and I want to help you out. I feel bad. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Let me see if I can tag John at John Chase. This is the most Canadian comment ever. I'm so sorry. Please Zoom with me so I can give you everything I have ever made for free. That was the most Canadian comment ever. Okay, sorry. Okay, I feel bad. All right, now where the hell was I? All right, give me a second here. All right. All right. Pet Greg wrote, hey, Chris, in your experience, does the agriculture sector behave defensively in uncertain markets? It depends. Okay, so if you're looking at cyclical companies like John Deere, that's not defensive. It behaves more like Caterpillar, ticker CAT, to the extent that when the economy is good, company does well, very profitable. When the economy does bad, unprofitable, it is very much tied to GDP cycles, okay? And you never want to buy John Deere or Caterpillar when the PE is low. That's right. You buy it when there's no earnings. Yeah. And I can talk about that in more detail. When it comes to, potash-based companies or, companies that are, relevant because of ethanol, fertilizer, et cetera, that more so depends on demand from China, in my humble opinion. Yeah. Yeah. And I did a lot of work on that. I remember I went up to visit with the management of potash in Saskatoon many years ago. It was the middle of winter, and I had my winter coat on when I was up there in Saskatchewan, right? Everything's flat, and then we were about to go down into the potash mines. And the investor relations dude from Potash, ticker was POT at the time, said to me, "What are you doing? Why do you have so many clothes on?" I was like, "Dude, it's middle of winter. It's freezing here, man." He's like, "No, get that stuff off." And we went a mile underground. And we saw potash being mined. It was the coolest thing. We saw these massive machines from Terex. I think the ticker was TEX at the time, and it was pretty cool. Yeah. But you gotta think longer term. Like for example, if you live in China, okay, and you join the middle class, what's the first thing you do? Well, you probably buy more pork products, right? And then an appliance. Well, if you buy more pork products or meat products, whatever it is, well, how do you grow pork? Well, they have to eat crops, right? Same in cattle, of course. Well, how do you grow crops? Well, you need fertilizer. Well, what kind of fertilizer works? Well, potash, that sort of thing. Yeah. And if you don't have time to do bottoms-up research on individual ag sector companies, you can certainly buy ag ETFs. Yeah. Okay. I hope I didn't scare off that guy from the call, man. Okay. Besides the Wall Street, Matt wrote, "If John doesn't take it, I will." Yeah, Matt, if you want, you can set up a call with me if you want. I'm happy to talk to you. And anybody in this call, actually, that's not a client, I'm happy to, whatever you want. All right. Give me 1 second. Question here is, nobody asked about the AI bubble today, so I will. Do you still think we're in a tech AI bubble? Yeah, so one thing I learned, I worked at a big hedge fund, biggest tech hedge fund on the planet for a while, called Pequot. And Art Sandberg, who is the brilliant, God bless him, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. I miss him, he was amazing. But I remember back in 06, 07, we pitched some stock to him, and our thesis was it's a short because we're in a bubble. And his response was, "Son, I've been around long enough to understand never to stand in the way of insanity. Markets peak, markets trough. Nobody can call the peak in these bubbles. And that's why you got to think long term always." Yeah. Okay. All right. Jason wrote, "Besides the Wall Street Journal, do you use any other newspapers or magazines to stay informed for business and world news? For example, magazines that you've written for." Yeah, Forbes, which I've got my own column, Forbes magazine. I still read that religiously. I like Bloomberg. I also like the New York Times Deal Book only. Sorkin is genius, right? And Deal Book basically tells you what deals are coming in terms of acquisitions, according to people familiar with the matter. I also like the FT, the Lex column I used to read. FT, the Financial Times, FT.com. It's kind of like the Wall Street Journal, but it's more global in nature. I like BBC as well. It's somewhat neutral in terms of U.S. politics, somewhat. Careful here. Yeah. But I try to stay away from stuff that's biased, like CNN, which is too left, or Fox, which is too right at times. That sort of thing. Yeah. And a lot, like, what I'll do is, you said besides the Wall Street Journal, but I'll tell you how I got ready this morning. When I was in the shower, I always do this. Alexa, Wall Street Journal news.
From the Wall Street Journal.
Alexa, stop. Yeah. Or you can even, if you wanted to, you can do it for Fox News, CNN and stuff. Alexa, Fox News.
In Fox News.
cabinet meeting underway at the White House. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
We've had an amazing
Alexa,
year.
stop. Yeah. But again, you don't want to be too biased one side or the other. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I just cut that off there. Yeah. But I usually do my own analysis, So I'll listen to earnings calls and decide for myself. Be careful, man. Because if you watch, you're up in Canada, like Report on Business TV, I don't know if that's still on television, whatever. You got to be careful. Because a lot of times when fund managers are being interviewed, they're very biased. Right? Obviously, they're going to talk about stocks they love, they own. It is what it is. Or the worst thing you can do is this. Watch an interview with the CEO of a company and then invest in their stock. Of course, it's good to see, if they can sell, but at the same time, that's how they made CEO. Because they're great salespeople. Yeah. Always do your own research. And what I recommend doing, and you're a premium client as well, I recommend going to EMS 4-2 and filling this out for any company you want to do investment research on. Yeah. And then after you do that, then you can do forensic financial statement analysis in this course here. And if you have questions about this, you can ask me in 19 minutes on our 3 hour and 20 minutes Zoom call today. Thanks. Let me switch camera angles. Let's go here. I love coffee, man. Sometimes I'll get up. Sometimes when I go to bed, I'll think to myself, I can't wait to wake up to have coffee. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink anymore, but I don't drink any less. Okay. All right. And then Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor. See you in a few minutes in the house of Habibi. Haroun. Yeah. God bless you all. And yes, God loves you all. Thank you for these emojis and namaste. God bless you. Yeah. Okay. Anonymous account 514 wrote, what do you think of How Money Works channel on YouTube? I don't know. So I don't watch anybody else's YouTube channel. I just don't have the time. Yeah. If you ask me who my favorite vlogger is on YouTube, it's probably Marquise Brownlee. I think he's great. He's real. Yeah. Okay. Charitra wrote, hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'm always good, thanks. I'm always good. Yeah. And for you guys that do, so the way my office is here, there's bright lights. And whenever I do like television interviews and stuff, and by the way, before the interview started, I always tell myself, I don't give a fuck how this goes. That's how you got to be, right? Not rude or disingenuous, but you know what I mean? But whenever there's bright lights, which I have my office here, they always put makeup on you. Okay, so as you can see, you can't really see the shine as much here. But you don't want to come across as nervous. So you go to the drugstore. For guys that have never done this before, my wife had to help me. You go to the drugstore and you ask somebody there, can you get me some powder that matches my skin color? And then what you're going to do is this. You're going to put a towel on yourself first, right? I've been doing this forever, so I know how to do it right. And then you're going to go here so you don't look as nervous. You guys are like, WTF, why the face? Why is he teaching us about makeup now? Yeah. And then you look less. And it's important to do it before an interview if you have bright lights like I do in my studio. Otherwise, you look nervous. And of course, what you want to do is, yeah. All right. A couple more questions and we'll wrap this bad boy up. Okay. Oh, yeah, my CMO, who I just promoted to my CEO, Cassandra Cox from Cox Media. She's wonderful. She always tells me to ask people to like and subscribe, but not 1 hour and 44 minutes into the webcast. Yeah. Please like and subscribe. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Matt wrote, thank you. You're most welcome. And I have a Matt as well. This guy here. And Matthew, as you know, is Hebrew for gift from God. So he is a gift from God, as I'm sure your mother and father think of you that way too. And Matt's a cool name because he can be Matt, Matthew, Matthias, Mafowski, Maphopoulos. That's what I call him. Okay. So Matt wrote, real quick, How rare is it for smaller funds to invest in both long-short equities and credit opportunities? Very rare that you'll see them mixed in both, meaning equities and fixed income, right? So you either choose one or the other, because if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. Yeah. Okay. Unless you have kind of a hybrid fund where you're focused on convertible debt. Yeah. Okay. All right. And for those of you not familiar with convertible debt, it means debt that eventually converts into equity. Yeah. Okay. And a lot of private companies that get venture capital funding, like the first round they do after the seed round is called the A round. They raise money for equity, meaning ownership of their company. And then the B round, a year or two later, they'll sell more equity in the company, C round more equity, and eventually go public, meaning the equity will be listed on the stock market. But sometimes, like, they want to raise money every 2 years or so. Sometimes they'll be in between the A round, the B round. They're like, oh, shoot, we're not ready to do our roadshow to raise money for equity. So what they'll do is they'll issue debt, okay? And that debt's going to convert, and here's how it works. So they issue debt, maybe, I don't know, 7% interest per year or something. But that debt, when they do the next round to raise more equity, meaning ownership in the company, that debt converts into equity, usually at a 20% discount to whatever the equity valuation is going to be for that round. Yeah. All right, Charitra wrote, I wanted to know that with the current economic and geopolitical stance, being a student, is an MBA or any certification worth it? For a fact, I'm also 23 years of age. Yeah. Oh, to be 23 again. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think education is probably the best investment you can possibly make. Obviously, I'm biased. But I wouldn't, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like my kids are the last generation that feel that maybe you should think about university. I mean, university is broken. And the reason I do what I do, okay, the reason I teach an unaccredited MBA program, I don't want no government telling me what to teach. The reason I do what I do is because education is broken. Like, the most important skills in school, they don't teach you. They don't teach you how to get a job. I don't care if you have an MBA from Harvard. It's all bullshit. 2/3 of HBS is BS. Haroun Business School or Harvard Business School? I don't know. You decide. But they don't teach you the most important skills in school, like how to get a job, how to interview, how to network, how to present. You know, what is a mortgage? Isn't that important to understand? How to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money, how to start a company. They don't teach you this stuff. It's bullshit. Like, ask anybody that graduated from any MBA school. Great. Do you know how to start a company? They don't. That's why I do what I do. And I refuse to teach theoretical bullshit, you know, that accredited universities teach, like supply and demand graphs. Like, have you ever really used that in the real world? Yeah. That's why I do what I do. And it's fun. And what else am I going to do? I retired from Wall Street like more than 10 years ago. Okay. All right. Terror Bear wrote, thank you, Chris, for your comments. You're most welcome. Thanks for being here. Thank you all for allowing me to do what I do. All right. Terror Bear wrote, you previously were in consulting. Yeah, I was. So I graduated from McGill University with a Bachelor of Commerce. And when I went to McGill, I learned how to drink. It was wonderful. I love Montreal. It was fun. Then what I did was Accenture hired me, where I worked 4 years. And then I did my MBA in finance, spent 5 years at Goldman Sachs, then hedge funds and all that stuff. You previously were in consulting. Is there a specific framework where recruiters look for that showcases you got it when applying for case study scenarios? Yeah. There's a bunch. Let me show you an excerpt here for my premium clients. Okay. So this here is one of my mini exercise books. And this is a 150-page exercise book on how to interview for finance jobs. And I've conducted over 1,000 interviews in my career. I know it sounds like a lot. I'm dating myself. That's an average of 1 per week over 20 years. I'm a 53-year-old man-child that turns 54 on February 2nd. Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. Yeah, the frameworks I would say are these here. Okay. So here's some frameworks, just some of them, right? So you can use frameworks like the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And the way and I'll go into the other ones in a second, but let's say you're in an interview and you're like, dude, I was just asked a question. I have no freaking idea how to answer it. Well, you don't have to be right. You just have to sound logical. So you can say something like this. Like say they ask you a question about X. You could say, well, in terms of my thoughts on X, let me talk about it with respect to the SWOT analysis. I'll kick it off with the strengths. The strengths are blah, 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 blah. In terms of the weaknesses, which are blah, 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 blah. Moving on to the opportunities, which potentially are yada, yada, yada. And lastly, the threats, which are yada, yada, yada. And the bottom line is this. So what I just did there was I bought myself some time to think of the answers using a framework. Okay, that's a SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, there's other frameworks you can use as well, like the BCG framework. That's a Boston Consulting Group framework. PLC is product life cycle, and then Michael Porter's 5 forces framework. And I have tons of other frameworks that I've created myself for you to be able to ace any interview that you possibly have. Yeah. And I recommend that if you're going to be interviewing for a role at McKinsey, and I had a student actually not too long ago in my MBA program got a job at McKinsey. I was proud of him actually because I got rejected by McKinsey. And I had another student get a job at BCG and all that stuff. But if you're going to be interviewing at a consulting firm, what I recommend you do is this. Search for vault reports. Let me show you. I'm going to show you what books to buy. Okay. And of course, I can help you too. I mean, I help you to interview and all that stuff. Let me make myself a little bit bigger because I am hella insecure. There I am. Okay. Bigger, Chris. Great. So what I want you to do is you're going to go to vault.com. Okay. And you're going to download a guide. I want you to buy this. Okay. It's worth it. Consulting case interview, right? Like you can buy this just to learn about consulting firms. They're not that expensive. They're worth it. But there's case interview books that you're going to practice with your buddies. Let me see here. Case. Looking for the word case. It will be in this one here, the consulting guide. Here we go. Good. Case interviews. So what I want you to do is I want you to buy this. Okay. And then let me actually click on it and I'll put this in the chat for you. Okay, good. I want you to buy this. And I want you to get a buddy that is going to practice these cases with you. Okay. And then you can use some of the frameworks I mentioned to help you to be able to get that job. Yeah. And of course, I'm happy to have you join my program as well, where we cover that stuff. Yeah. But probably that vault guide is better than anything I have. Yeah. Okay. What is currently your biggest position? Yeah, right now, RN. Yeah, I don't disclose for now. Yeah, thank you though. Okay. All right, Mohammed wrote, what's a mistake you repeatedly see smart analysts make when they move from theory to live capital? Yeah, being emotionally attached. Yeah. So I found the most successful people I've ever worked for are incredibly unemotional, including lots of billionaires, not all, that I've worked for. Very unemotional to the extent that when things go well, there's no high-fiving. And when things don't go well, they don't freak out. You got to be unemotional. So how do you stay unemotional? Well, what you're going to do is this. All right, so step one. Look how big I look there. My hair's getting long. I can get my hair cut this Saturday. Eh? So what you're going to do is this. All right, step one, you're going to write an investment report on a company, okay? Using one of my frameworks. And this is just dummy data here, okay? And you're going to print this out, okay? It's a one-page analysis on the stock where I analyze fundamentals, valuation, and technicals. Then what you're going to do is this. Let's say you buy the stock. Great. It's in your portfolio. It's a maximum 5% of capital. A year goes by and the stock is falling off a cliff and you're freaking out. Here's what I want you to do to be rational and grounded. Okay. I want you to get that printout. Okay. And I want you to look at that one pager. And I want you to ask yourself this. Okay. Okay. I wrote this one-page report. I wrote this one-page report a year ago. And the stock is down a lot today because of news release X. If I had known about news release X a year ago and I made this report, would I have still bought the stock? If the answer is no, sell it. If the answer is yes, then if it's not a full position, buy the snot out of it. Back up the truck, buy more, including options, which I teach as well. Yeah. So be unemotional. Okay, and I will have to wrap this up in a minute. I'm sorry. And if there are more questions, just save them, ask me next week. Or if you're a premium customer, you can ask me during my Zoom call, which happens in a second. I do daily Zoom calls for my premium customers. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, so I do daily Zoom calls. That's, an hour a day, at least per day. It's 7 hours per week, 300 hours per year. Yeah, it's fun. And my community is wonderful. And I love my students, whether you're paying or not. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And if a lot of people, if anybody wants to join my program and wants to do a meeting with me, just click this. Okay. Meet with me here. Just click that link. I'm happy to do a call with you guys. It's fun. Okay. Okay, Sanjay wrote, hey, Chris, hey, bud. While making the financial modeling, how long back do we have to go? I mean, for Palantir, which is the company I invested in when it was private, yeah. Let's say the company was founded in 2003, went public 2020. Should I add 2020 or 2003? Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to look at the S1, okay, which is the investment prospectus, okay? And you want to start with whatever the earliest year is. So if you look at the prospectus for Palantir, and they gave data from 2018 onwards, start with that. Yeah. Whatever the first year is in the S1 is what you're going to do. Always. Yeah. That's what I would say. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote here, similarly, is it Palantir, a $1 trillion company, and also 5x5? Do you mean 500% return 5 years? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Whenever you do investment research, I want you to look for what are called 5x5, meaning stocks that you think, pardon me, have a 500% return within 5 years. Yeah, yeah, okay. All right. And then let me just get the Zoom ready for my clients. Okay. All right. Give me a second here, guys. Sorry, I'm just getting ready for the 10 o'clock call. Okay. All right. I will wrap it up in a second here. Let's see if I can take more. This is fun. Sanjay wrote, the dollar, will it strengthen or weaken, Chris? And also, the Fed didn't cut rates. What does it mean? And the markets are kind of down as well by 3%. Yeah. So the Federal Reserve is kind of implied that they were going to cut rates maybe an additional 2 times this year. With the new Fed chief, I still think that will happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if the U.S. dollar weakens like crazy, I know Trump said he wants a weaker dollar because it makes exports cheaper, which is great when you have trade wars or tariffs. But if the U.S. dollar falls off a cliff, then there's no way they're going to cut rates. They'll have to, if anything, raise them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next question, Tian wrote, how do you keep your head above water at those 80 hours per week jobs? I'm afraid I might lose the big picture while being asked to put out fires every 10 minutes. Yeah, a couple things. Number one, you got to make sure that you take your breaks, right? And so our forefathers have known since the beginning of time that you burn out if you don't take off 1 day a week. Alexa, stop. So take 1 day off a week. Always, 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 no matter what. Okay, guys, I know there's a lot more questions. And then Simon wrote here, hey, Chris, is it possible to pay via crypto for your courses? No, I'm so sorry. Yeah, thanks. And I don't sell individual courses anymore. Yeah, just my program's all you can eat. All right, guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. As with all of my previous calls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a short Steve Jobs video that I license that is life-changing. See you guys next week. If you want to learn more about my programs, I'll talk about it next week. Thanks, guys. God bless you, and thank you. John, I hope to do a call with you wherever you are. Please set up a Zoom with me. Thank you. Love you guys.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.